I think one of the most beautiful Hollywood movie scenes that I have seen for a long time was in a movie where a middle-aged man was sitting by the hospital bed where his mother was dying, and they had been told that she would die within just a few hours. And the mother was saying to the son, "I'm so frightened, I'm so sad, because when I die, there will just be oblivion, there will be nothingness." And the son is so thoughtful and sensitive. He says to her, "Oh, no, Mom, it's not like that. When you die, you go to heaven." And she said, "Well, what is that?" He said, "Well, it's your favorite place. And when you get there, all the people that you have ever loved will be there waiting for you. And all the people that you have ever loved. And it will be a place of wonderful joy." And she says, "Oh, son, that's so beautiful. Tell me more about it." And he said, "Well, when you get there, you won't be old or sick anymore. You're going to be young and strong again. And you'll be able to run and jump, and you'll dance like you used to love to dance. And everyone there lives in a mansion. And there is only joy and peace and hope." And the mom says, "That's so beautiful." And then peacefully and with a warm heart, the mother dies. And I thought that was such a beautiful scene, that man could give his mom such hope. And I thought that's just beautiful, except for one thing. The scene occurs in a movie by Ricky Gervais, who is a very dedicated atheist. And the title of the movie is The Invention of Lying. And the point of that scene is that heaven is a fairy tale lie that human beings have invented in order to give comfort to those who are dying. It's a fairy tale we have invented because we cannot stand the thought that when this earthly life comes to an end, there is nothingness. It is nothing more than a lie meant to comfort weak and frightened people. And it's a frightening concept. It's frightening because there are many people who once were Christians in North America who have left the church on the basis of that understanding. That heaven was never more than just a sweet lie to comfort innocent and stupid people. Current scientific wisdom says that all that the universe is the physical universe. It is made up of particles. It is governed by physics and biology and mathematics. And there is nothing except for that which we can see, and that when this life is over, that's it. It's done and it's finished. And any talk of an afterlife is just a fairy tale. That is the standard scientific view of the day, and there are many people giving in to it. It's hard to fight science, because science is factual and science is based on evidence. What are we going to say? And this is what I say. I say that the standard scientific view of the 20th century, in light of more recent discoveries, is really struggling. The standard scientific view is being challenged today, and it has many weaknesses and deficiencies, particularly with the rise of the study of quantum physics, the study of the universe at a subatomic level, when we recognize against all standard scientific knowledge that subatomic particles act differently when a human consciousness is observing them. Because according to science, human consciousness has no substance. It has no physical, mathematical reality. The human mind exists in a world that is unseen, and yet when a human observer applies their consciousness to subatomic reactions, the reactions are different. And the standard scientific explanation and Newtonian physics cannot explain that. The standard scientific principle says that human life, human consciousness are both accidental byproducts of physical processes. But quantum physics suggests the opposite. Not that human consciousness is the byproduct of the physical world, but that the physical world is the byproduct of consciousness. That the whole material seen world is a byproduct of the world that is unseen. Standard science says that the universe is a lifeless collection of particles bouncing against each other in accordance to predetermined rules of unknown origin, and that consciousness somehow arises out of this random interaction. That's how science describes the world. That's the best it can do. But there's problems with that. There are questions that science cannot answer, mostly around consciousness and the origins of the universe, and here are some of them. How do random particles evolve into consciousness? If all that the universe is random particles interacting with each other, how does consciousness arise? Where does love come from? The love that you feel for the people who are closest to you. Where does that arise from in a material world? Where does the love of art come from? Where does your appreciation of a sunset or a good meal or the joy of beautiful music, where does that come from if all we are is random particles bouncing off of each other? Those are all elements of human consciousness. Human consciousness is the most basic fact of our existence, but science cannot begin to answer that question. There's other questions. For example, what happened before the Big Bang that supposedly sent all of these random particles into motion? And it's important to note that the theory of the Big Bang did not come from Edwin Hubble, though it is frequently attributed to him. It came from a man much before that called Georges Lemaitre. But we're a little reluctant to attribute that scientific reality to Georges Lemaitre because he was a Jesuit priest. And Christians aren't supposed to have scientific ideas. He called it the primordial atom. He said that yes, there was a point at which all the matter and energy and time of the universe was contained within a single point that was as small as a subatomic particle. In fact, it was so small it did not have any mass whatsoever. But if you ask the scientists what happened before the Big Bang, well, they have a stock scientific answer, which is that before the Big Bang theory, there was no time, because time cannot exist unless it is brought into existence alongside energy and matter. But that's a pathetic circular answer that has no sense or no meaning to it. Other questions. If the universe is expanding, and it certainly appears that it is, into what is it expanding? Scientists have an answer for that. They say, well, it is expanding into nothingness, and it is bringing its own space with it. Do you know what that is? That's a fairy tale, designed to appease people who cannot manage mystery. Science does not have all of the answers. When science tries to reduce human existence to particles reacting against each other, it comes up with very inadequate and incomplete answers. It can't answer any of those or dozens of other questions, and maybe one of the reasons is that the only part of the universe that science can even observe is 4%. Because 24% of the universe is made up of dark matter that we cannot see. 72% of the whole universe is made up of dark energy that we cannot see. And it may be a mistake to call those things dark matter and dark energy. They may in fact be so brilliantly bright that they are beyond our capacity for observation. We can only see 4% of the universe. And what we are seeing, even of that 4%, is an infinitesimally small fraction of this tiny corner of this universe, when in fact science thinks now there may be infinite universes. So how can we pretend that we have answers about consciousness and soul and spirit when we cannot even answer the most basic questions? There are atheists who say that faith is nonsense, and yet there are scientists who, by absolute blind faith, accept the idea that the whole universe sprang out of nothingness 13.7 billion years ago. I love science. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. And one day, far in the future, science is going to coincide with faith and theology. I love science. But right now, science has developed for itself a series of fairy tales to appease people who cannot grasp mystery and the awesomeness of the universe. And in light of that, maybe faith makes sense. And as quantum physics unrolls more and more deficiencies in the standard scientific viewpoint, perhaps faith will make even more sense in the future. Maybe one day, even heaven will make sense. Perhaps we will come to see that consciousness, mind, soul, and spirit, which have no substance in accordance to scientific theory, no substance mathematically or in terms of physics, perhaps those things are the primary forces acting upon the universe and not these broken material things that we see around us. And when you think in those terms, then maybe, just maybe, when we ask about how the universe came into existence, maybe what is said in the first chapter of Genesis starts to make a little bit of sense. In the beginning, when God created the universe, all things were void and formless. The raging ocean that covered everything was engulfed in total darkness, and the power of God was moving across the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Maybe one day we'll see the sense that that makes. And in light of all the unanswered questions about how consciousness arises from nothingness, or how consciousness acts on the world of physics, perhaps one day the words of the Apostle Paul from 1 Corinthians 15 will start to make sense, because they are about that other world that we cannot see. How did the dead come to life, says Paul? Well, when it is buried, it is ugly. When it is raised again, it is beautiful. when it is buried, it is weak. When it is raised again, it is strong. When it is buried, it is physical. When raised again, it is spiritual. The first man, Adam, was the man of the earth. But the second man, Jesus, is a man of spirit. And just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, so we shall bear the image of the man of spirit. But it is not the spirit which comes first, but the dust, and then the spirit. In light of all of these things, in light of the fact that we cannot even see 96% of the matter and energy that make up the universe around us, perhaps the words of the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 4 make a little bit more sense. For this reason, we never become discouraged. Even though this outward being is gradually decaying, there is an inward being that grows stronger with every passing day. And we do not look to that which is seen, but to that which is unseen. What can be seen lasts for a moment. What cannot be seen lasts forever. In light of all these things, if you are a person who has perhaps ceased to believe in heaven, because you have come to think that science and physics and biology are everything and are able to describe everything about what a human being is, maybe you need to reconsider. Reconsider that notion that heaven is just a lie made up to appease weak and frightened people who can't face reality. Begin to think that perhaps the story of heaven is a physics and a science that is so advanced we have not yet begun to be able to understand it. I do not think that heaven is filled with angel choirs, or that we will have wings or harps or pearly gates or streets of gold, but I do believe in the fullness and the magnificent and unimaginable consciousness that called forth time and space and energy from nothingness, and whose perfect power is exceeded only by perfect love, and who restores and heals through the death of Jesus Christ, and who perhaps has new ways for us to exist that we cannot begin to imagine. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
December 3rd is the date of the Heather and Holly Bazaar this year. And I hope you remember the song, "Who Put the Bomb in the Bomb, Shabam, Shabam." And you need to join me. I hope the choir joins in too. And it's, my lyrics make as much sense as the original version does. It's "Who Put the Heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly there too, by God." So just try it with me. Who put the heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly there too, by golly. Got it? Okay, see, every time that comes up, we sing it twice. Here we go. Right off the top. Who put the heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly there too, by golly. Who put the heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly there too, by golly. Who was that woman? I'd like to shake her hand. She set the date for this year's church bazaar. September now, the fall moves on. We've met our pickling bee. The hot and humid summer is instead. So spread the word until it's heard, far and wide across Ontario's regions. We're working towards our main event. Here we go. Who put the heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly there too, by golly. Who put the heather on the 3rd of December, and who put the holly 'cause you've let them know. I own the hall will surely be a buzz. They'll sip tea and have sandwiches in the ambience of our Elizabeth tea room. You might ask why I say because. One more time. Who put the heather under December and who put the holly there too, by golly? Who put the heather under December and who put the holly there too, by golly? Who was that woman? I'd like to shake her hand. She set the date for this year's church bazaar. Mark it on your calendar.
That was awesome, David. A wonderful announcement about the bazaar. What's the date again? We, the people of St. Andrews, deeply appreciate every one of you because God has given you gifts. God has given you faith and love and joy, and God has given you the desire to share your faith. What's wrong? To share your faith and your relationship with Jesus, with new generations of children and teens, and that's the most important thing in the world. As you prepare for another year, I'm going to put 2 questions to you and ask you to respond by saying, I do. Do you promise to share your faith in Jesus Christ with the children and youth of this loving family with joy, enthusiasm, and creativity? All right. Do you promise to work with great diligence and to ask God for help and guidance so that God's healing power will flow to our children and youth